The pious knight made a sacrifice to bring peace and protect his people. Through a sacred ritual, he bound his fate to a wyvern and drank its blood in the chalice of immortality. As long as the knight lived, so would the powerful creature. They vowed to protect the legendary citadel of Wyverndale together. When the first warden drank the wyvern's blood, he was blessed with tremendous power, but also lost a part of himself. He lost his humanity, its ability to feel pain for himself and others. That is why modern wardens and warmongers have different interpretations of that same tale, claiming Ramiel's sacrifice is a symbolic story driving their beliefs. Part 1. This was to be a special day. The sun rose in the east, bathing Wyverndale in its golden light its people had grown accustomed to. While most in the city still slept, Lord Ramiel was wide awake, high atop his tower, staring at the horizon as he always did, constantly on the lookout for threats to the peace he and his allies had worked so long to achieve. There was nothing but the usual hints of another quiet day. The autumn breeze was just the right kind of chilly, and the red leaves of the trees caught the sunlight like a curtain of dry flame that made the citadel feel more alive than in any other season. Most of the wyverns were still sleeping in the mountains, but a few of them could be spotted over the horizon, their bat-like wings flapping as they hunted for a hearty breakfast. The great wyvern hadn't been seen for a few days, but that wasn't uncommon for the mighty beast. It was the last of its kind, impossibly old and the subject of legend. It usually only surfaced in times of need, to uphold its end of the pact it had made long ago with Ramiel, the citadel's protector, Wyverndale's warden. Today was to be a day of celebration, but Lord Ramiel didn't feel like celebrating. Still, he knew what was expected of him. He had to climb down from his watchtower and interact with the people. That didn't sound like too much of a task, but to Ramiel it was. The unfortunate truth was that he just didn't care for the people, not in the way he used to. Long ago, he had been a simple knight, driven by compassion and bravery. To put an end to the suffering of his people at the hands of the cruel tyrant Despar, he had sought out the great wyvern and made a pact with the ancient creature, a ritualistic vow sealed in blood that made him immortal. He had been given an unnaturally long life, but after so many years, the ritual had also chipped away at his empathy. Nowadays, there just wasn't much of anything the warden felt beneath his thick armor anymore. As he walked down the spiral staircase of his white stone tower, he dreaded interacting with the people, forcing himself to recall that all he did for their own good. That morning, the townsfolk spotted Ramiel in the town square, watching from a distance as they prepared for the day's festivities. This was, after all, an important occasion. It was the anniversary of Ramiel's oath and the legendary battle that lay the foundation for what Wyverndale had now become, a beacon of hope, strength, and unity. The villagers enthusiastically prepared for the day's banquet, putting together a veritable feast, dusting off old costumes, one of which was made for at least 4 people who would play the role of the Great Wyvern, and setting up a wooden stage that would later be used to recreate Ramiel's pact and his legendary triumph over Despar. The celebration was a yearly event, and everyone in the citadel took part in it. There was a palpable excitement in the air, one that wouldn't be pruned by the storm clouds slowly gathering in the eastern sky. But all of that changed once the rumbling began. The ground underneath the people's feet started to shake, slowly at first, but rapidly it increased. There was a foreboding rhythm to it, a verse that chanted doom. Worry soon grew into panic. The rumbling turned into violent tremors. Loose objects fell, shattered. A small tower snapped from its foundations and collapsed. Then another, and another. The sound of screams and crumbling stone drowned everything else out. His villagers ran for shelter. Few saw Ramiel hurriedly run away from the square, heading back to his tower. Ramiel climbed the stairs 2 at a time, the heavy chainmail he never took off clinking and clanging with every one of his jumps, until he finally reached his watch post. Yes, due to his connection to the Great Wyvern, there wasn't much that Ramiel, Wyverndale's warden, could feel anymore. But that day, when he reached the top of his white fortress and looked to the horizon, he felt something he hadn't in a very long time. Fear.